Hey filmmakers, it has been a minute since I've posted a video on this channel, and that's for good reason because I've been super busy building out this brand new studio, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys because there's a ton of cool stuff to unpack. So come on in, let's check this thing out. So to start this thing off, we're gonna take a look at this beast of a desk. And I finally got a desk that I would call kind of my dream setup or dream desk. Let's just first off take a look at the racing chair. I mean, you gotta have one. If you spend a lot of hours editing, which I know you do, because if you're making videos, you spend probably like 80% of your time at a computer. Wait, let's do the PewDiePie test. Okay, can it do this?
But can you do this?
It can. Let's get back to the serious stuff, right? These are the Yamaha HS5s, and they run into the audio box USB, which allows me to put in a bunch of inputs, microphones, and things like that. And these speaker stands are seriously my favorite. They're from Soundrise. They're a really cool company. They're just a great way of isolating your speakers and the sound from the desk, and it gets them at the right height for your ears. I've already done an entire video on this, so I won't rant about it. I'll put it linked up in the video above here. So basically, I wanted a camera set up all the time for going live. And right now I have the Fujifilm X-T4 set up on here. And I wanted this set up so I could quick release off of it. So that way you can just clip it off and I can go and film with this wherever I want to. So it's actually pretty simple. It looks a little complex, but it's not. So I have the quick release plate here on top from Manfrotto, and then it's just on a swivel and tilt head, basic little one, that's attached to a really cheap monopod from Manfrotto. And the cool thing about this is the height is adjustable. You know, you can just pull one of these little latches back here and adjust it to the height that you need, and then lock it off. And Velcroed to it, I have the HDMI cable that I always need when I'm plugging it into the camera. And then that goes into this little mini recorder from Blackmagic. And this device allows me to input the camera as an input, a camera input, into my Mac. So then that's plugged into the back of my computer so I can do my live streaming and everything. Then also Velcroed on the side here, I have a continuous power for the camera, so I can just pop that battery right into usually my Sony camera, plug in the HDMI, and immediately I'm ready to film. So that all stays there. Now the way that I've got this attached to the desk is with just a simple gobo head here, and it's holding the Manfrotto little monopod. And then I've got a clamp here. This is basically a Cardellini or Mathellini clamp that's clamped onto the desk, and then the gobo head is clamped onto that. And then of course here, I've got my microphone for doing the live streams. Nothing new and crazy here, but you guys have probably all seen this before. This is the Rode Boom Arm. Super solid, good quality, and it's pretty cheap. It's only 99 bucks, and it does the job really well. Just clamps to the back of the desk. And then I have the Rode NT1A microphone on here. Before I continue with this tour, I've got to tell you about this shirt that I'm wearing. It's from a company called INTOTHEAM. Now, it's extremely comfortable, it fits really great, and it's probably one of the softest shirts that I've ever owned. It's not like crunchy, the neck is really soft, it just feels really good and it fits really nice. And it's funny because I've actually been wearing INTOTHEAM shirts for many years now. I'll put a bunch of images on the screen from past videos I've shot wearing their shirts. And they actually reached out to me recently and asked me if they could sponsor one of these videos. So they are today's sponsor, and a huge thanks to them. So go check out their website right now at intotheam.com/Chadwin, and you will get 10% off site-wide off of your order. All right, back to the video. So of course, now we got to talk about one of the most important things of any studio, and that is lighting. So right here, I have a D&O LED panel, it's bi-color, and then of course I have this D-Fuse softbox on there with a grid to help control the spill so it's not spilling all over the walls and everything like that. It's more directional and soft right onto my face. Now the way that I actually have this light mounted is using this Manfrotto auto pole. Now I've shown this actually in videos in the past, but if you haven't seen this, it's a semi-permanent way to mount lights. So if you're in an apartment or a rental and you can't actually screw things to the ceiling and the wall, and you don't want to damage the drywall or anything, you can use this sort of thing. I actually really love it. So what I've done is just vertically extended it between the ceiling and the floor, and then it just locks into place. And so it's really nice and sturdy. It's got little suction cups, and so it actually does a really good job. It can hold a lot of weight. It's kind of hard to see, but have a Manfrotto clamp in the back, and then it has a little baby pin connection where I've put the light attached to it. So I'll link to all the different stuff that I'm showing you guys down in the description below, so you can pick any of it up for your own studio. This is actually a sit-stand desk from IKEA. I love it because, like I said, you do so much time editing and it gets really tiring sitting. So I've got this all wired and set up so that I can just raise this up to standing height and do some more work like this. All right, so cable management is a huge part of having a properly set up sit-stand desk. So this IKEA one comes with a little mesh net in the back that allows you to kind of tuck away the cables, but it doesn't give you anywhere to plug in your cables and actually get them powered. So you'd have to run all the cables dangling down the back and like plug them into a power strip on the ground. But that doesn't work great because your cables might not be long enough, or they're just flopping all over the place and it looks terrible. So what I've done is I've taken a power strip here that has 10 ports on it, and I've actually zip tied it to the desk. I can of course lower and raise the desk at will, and nothing's ever gonna tug or pull or anything like that because it's all powered directly underneath the desk. And as you can see, nice and clear, the only cable running up there is one power cable for the power strip, and then my Ethernet cable for internet. So now let's move on to my paper backdrop. Now, in a lot of studios, you see the ones with the big chain hanging down. You can do like 3 paper rolls and things like that. I wanted something much more simple and basic because I don't really use paper rolls that frequently, so I've just got one up there right now. But basically, this is an old rod from a backdrop stand that I had, and now I'm just using the rod. I've taken it off of the stands, and I've got 2 really simple hooks that I purchased from Home Depot on either side, just screwed into the wall, and then the pole is literally just resting on top of it. And boom, we're ready to shoot on a paper backdrop. It is worth mentioning that this whole room used to be a loft, so it was actually quite a bit of construction to get it looking the way that it is today. This used to be totally open. We got this all walled in, of course, painted it a beautiful matte black, and added this door here, solid door, so it's a little bit more soundproof in here. And I redid a lot of other things in here. The flooring is brand new, ripped out the carpet, so it's just a completely new space than it used to be. I'll put a bunch of before pictures up on the screen right now as well. So now let's talk about my absolute favorite part of the office studio, and that is the lighting grid. I've been wanting to do a permanent lighting grid in my office for years, but I just haven't been able to because I've been renting. So this is actually a unique lighting grid that I've never seen on YouTube before, or really anywhere else. And that's because I'm using something called unistrut. Now, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a giant steel beam with little holes in it and little rails. So basically I screwed these pieces of unistrut directly into the ceiling. Now for them to actually have good support, of course you gotta get them on studs. And it's a little bit difficult to find the studs in your ceiling unless you know what you're doing. So I'm gonna show you some footage of how I did it. Basically, I got a nice strong magnet from Home Depot and just ran it across the ceiling until it caught on a screw or nail, whatever's up there, and it would just stick there. And then I marked it with a pencil, and I did that across the entire ceiling till I figured out which way all the beams were running. Once all of the studs were marked, I could then begin mounting my unistrut, which I basically put one parallel with each wall in the office, hence why I've got 4. So that way I could put lights up anywhere that I want at any time. I can do a little dance and I'm not hitting any stands or anything like that. So we're gonna break down all the different lights in the studio real quick now. And this is actually a brand new one from DF Digital Photo, and it's called the Helios B100. It's a really nice 2x1 LED light panel that I'm using to light up my backdrop, and I'm actually gonna do an entire review video on this. So keep an eye out on the channel because that's coming really soon. Now, what I've got right here is an Aperture LS Mini 20D. Now, I really like this because I can basically turn it around. I have it on a little ball head and I can spot it in wherever I want. And it's a great light for a hair light. So typically what I've been doing is actually pointing it right at the back of my head at this desk here so that I can use it as a hair light for when I'm doing live streams. So it's totally out of the shot, so the camera looking this way doesn't see it, of course, because there's no stands or anything, so it's virtually invisible to the camera. Now, how I have all the lights mounted to the ceiling is with this special adapter, and it's from a company called Theatrical. And basically it's built for unistrut, so it slides in and then it has this little knob so you can tighten it down. And then it has a baby pin connection right at the bottom of it, so I can put any standard light onto it with that baby pin connection. Now, here's the reason that I went with a full unistrut system as my lighting grid instead of the normal bars that you see. Because if you've been to any studio, typically you see bars going everywhere and they're all connected up. But the thing about that is those bars usually have to hang, and they hang off the ceiling. And so typically that gets you 4 to 6 inches off the ceiling. I'm just in a residential house with only 8-foot ceilings. So 6 inches, a foot, anything like that is really dramatic, and I don't want to lose all of that headspace. So unistrut is the absolute tightest way that I've found to keep your lights up on the ceiling, flush mounted, and then this little baby pin adapter allows you to put the light right there. And as you can see, there's just a ton of space still under this. I actually have a Quasar Science LED light tube just placed inside of the unistrut. Nothing's even holding it up in place. It actually slid in perfectly and it fits with like a charm. And I've got it on a dimmer, so I'll show you guys how I can dim this down and brighten it up on a dimmer. And it actually looks really cool inside of this black unistrut. And it gives a really nice overall soft lighting to the entire room. In the future, I'm going to add an outlet to the ceiling so that I can plug all the cables in the ceiling and I don't have any of them running down the wall. The next light we have here is a falconized LED light panel. I've done a full review of this as well. Now, one of the most important things of any filmmaker space, and that is storage. It's not the most sexy thing ever or the most beautiful thing, but we all gotta have it because we have a ton of camera gear, tripods, stands, everything that is really nice to hide away. So when we actually got this house, there used to be a built-in desk right here and just a tiny bit of cabinetry. I'll show you guys on the screen what it used to look like, but I tore that out and I decided to put in full floor to ceiling cabinetry and just fill this space so I could have storage for all the different gear. Now, these are from IKEA and I found, you know, the dimensions and everything so I could get the right cabinetry to fit. This was a little bit expensive to do, it was about 800 bucks, but I think it was definitely worth it so that I could hide away all my stuff and just have a nice clean space to work in. So let me show you guys what this looks like. Basically, I left this with no shelves or anything in there so that I could put full length C-stands into here, tripods, sliders, all the really tall, big stuff, you know, all my sandbags down there and everything. I just wanted a lot of space to hide that junk away because it's so ugly and it's easy to just kick and trip over, but now it's all hidden away. Got a couple shelves in here with just more gear, a couple buckets, you know, backpack, things like that, all in here. And then inside of this cabinet here, I've got more bins with, you know, obviously more gear, everything like that, all stacked away. But what's really cool about this is what I've actually built in here on the side. Mounted inside of the cabinet, I have these little IKEA pegboards, and I have 2 of them. And what I've done is I've actually wired in this 4-port outlet here and down here so that this can be like my mega charging station, and the power runs to the back of the cabinetry where it's just plugged into an outlet. So what I've got here is basically my dead battery bucket and my full battery bucket. And I've actually saw this from another creator. She had this really cool idea for that. So basically this is dead and I'm gonna put it on a charger down here that's always plugged in, ready to go. And whoop, I've got my V-mount. This one's basically dead, so I have a V-mount charger in here as well, and I can just click it onto that and it starts charging right away. The cables that I get to frequently, I've got right here, I've got clamps and Velcro and different things that I kind of get to a lot. got the batteries charging for the gimbal and everything. I wanted to hide away all the cables and charging junk inside of here. And then when I'm ready to, close it all up, it all keeps charging, but it's out of sight, out of mind, and just, oh, it's so nice. Clean, sleek, and just all of the ugliness is hidden away. And seriously, this is one of my favorite features of the office. Sounds ridiculous, but just having storage and a place to put everything. So there's the new studio tour with the awesome permanent lighting grid. Hopefully you learned something for your own home studio setup. And guys, make sure you're subscribed, because now that I'm here, there are a ton more videos coming your way, and be sure to smash the like button. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.